This is Dark, and here's a Mythic Plus guide for the Priory of the Sacred Flame. When making these guides, I'm hoping to help people who are getting into Mythic Plus, as well as anyone who's still struggling with the mechanics. So when you're in that pug environment, you can be an asset to the party instead of being the reason you fail the keys. And for anyone interested in trying out tanking and understanding the routing, here's a basic route of what I do when I'm just pugging. Like and subscribe if this helped you at all. So in this first huge area of the Priory of Flame, you got the first boss who's surrounded by his bodyguards. There's 3 of them. And in the huge area, there's 3 mini bosses. You always want to take out 2 of these mini bosses to pull 2 of the bodyguards away from the boss. So when you get to the boss, there's only 1 bodyguard and the boss. So in this first area, by the first mini boss over here, you're gonna have some footmen who will cast Defend, and this will just be a gold circle around them where any allies in that circle will take 50% reduced damage. If you're able to interrupt this, the footmen themselves will take 25% more damage, so interrupt those if you're able to. There's also gonna be knights that will impel a random target, and they will bleed, put a bleed on that target, as well as they have an AoE shout that they shout and just do AoE damage to everyone. And then there'll be sharpshooters who will shoot random players as well as shooting the tank, and they'll throw out traps around the area. If you step on these traps, they're going to make you bleed and do damage, so don't step on the traps when they throw them out. And for the first mini boss here, the guard captain Solomon, he'll have 2 abilities. One's going to be a thunderclap where he just does AoE damage to everyone in your group, and the other's a shield slam where he'll knock back his current target really far away. So for the tank, if you're not a warrior, you can't charge back immediately, or a death knight who gets death advance, you want to position your back against the wall so he doesn't slam you, super far away and possibly butt pulling random packs that you don't want to pull. And after killing the guard captain, there'll be one of the bodyguards from the main boss will come running down to where you killed the captain. I usually like to meet this mini boss in the next pack that I do, but this mini boss will have a lunge attack that they'll do at a random player, and they'll spin around and they'll put bleeds on people. And she also has brutal smash where she'll just slam the ground with a brown AoE circle and make sure you're not standing that, otherwise you'll be stunned. And then also in this area, you're gonna have these links that will jump at random players, also putting a bleed on those players. And the mobs here, you'll have to be dealing with the conjurers, and they're just gonna be casting flame strike and fireball. And then you're gonna have the priests who will have greater heal that's kickable, and then they'll have inner focus that they'll cast on their allies, increasing damage or whatever, but that's dispellable, so make sure you're dispelling that. And then you got these light spawn dudes who will, when they're about to die, they'll do a burst of light, and that will heal any of their allies for 35% when they're in that circle. So tanks and everyone else, if you got pushbacks, you want to just make sure there's no adds in those circles when they're about to explode, so you're not healing them. When it comes to the 2 leftover mini bosses, I always choose to go left to deal with the High Priest, because she just has a reflective shield, and you just, it's a bubble, you destroy the shield and you kill her. She'll also cast inner fire, so make sure you're dispelling that. But it also makes the boss a lot easier because the boss will not have the stunning add while you're fighting him. But if you decide to go north, you'll be dealing with the Forge Master, and he's got a bunch of fire attacks. He'll imbue his weapons with fire, and those will create pools on the ground that you'll have to constantly run around and avoid. And at the same time, he has abilities that will slow you by like 70%. Alright, so for the first boss, Captain Dailcry or whatever, depending on what mini boss you killed, you'll either be dealing with the holy damaging girl, or you'll be dealing with the fire guy who's gonna cast fire spells and stun the tank, which is really annoying, so make sure you're going south girl instead of the fire dude. And for the girl, she'll do AoE Holy Radiance that just does AoE damage to everyone. And she'll do Divine Judgment to the tank, which will increase the tank's damage taken by 25%, but this is dispellable. And it does holy damage as well, so make sure you're dispelling this healers off of the tank when they get it casted on them. And as for the boss himself, also for the tanks, he'll be doing Pierce Armor, which is going to be a stacking bleed effect over here. So make sure you are dealing with that and popping mitigation when you need to. And he'll also be doing Battle Cry, which is a kickable rage attack that will grant increased damage and more energy for the ad that's helping them to do, more of their abilities. So make sure you're always kicking this Battle Cry, don't let it get off. And it'll also hurl Spear at a random player. If the spear hits you, it will cause you to bleed, so make sure you're dodging the spear. And then for his final ability, his links will jump on a player and mobilizing them, so you can still do damage. Healers, just make sure you're topping these players off and popping defensive coolies if you're the DPS who's getting tackled. Alright, in the next area before the second boss, it's got this big circle room right here. You're gonna have the same priests where you gotta kick their heels, and then you'll also have the conjurers that will do a bunch of fire abilities, and then you'll have the Templars now who will do some holy attack abilities, and then they'll cast Templar's Wrath on themselves, which is basically the Paladin Wings. This is dispellable and increases their damage by 30%, so make sure you either spell Stilling or dispelling this bad boy. And then you got the Paladins who will do their Toll ability, which is AoE damage to the whole group. And they'll also cast Consecration on the ground, which is going to be notified by a big yellow gold circle that they'll put on the ground, and it's going to leave crap on the ground for a while. So as the tank, just make sure you're kind these guys around so you guys have enough room to move around the arena over here. All right, for the second boss, Baron Braunpyke or whatever, he's got Hammer of Purity, where he's going to spawn 3 little circles of gold light. These circles are going to spawn 3 hammers each. They're going to spin around the room. When you're tanking the boss, just move them away from those circles, so you're just away from the hammers, and you can basically just avoid those completely. His next ability is going to be the Sacrificial Pyre, where he's going to channel and create this gold circle. They're going to have 3 charges on it to deal with this before it explodes and does a crap ton of damage after 30 seconds. You want to have 3 different players soak a charge. Once they soak a charge, they'll get this dot on them that does quite a bit of damage, so you don't want to take multiple charges and get multiple dots on you. So make sure you have 3 different players soak this charge to get rid of the prior before it explodes. He'll also throw a shield at players, creating a big AoE circle that you want to run out of, and make sure you're not taking the damage from that circle when it explodes. And the shield throw will also slow you by 50%. And then he'll also cast a Burning Light, and this will heal him and doing damage to the party. This is kickable, so make sure you're kicking this every single time. And then his final ability is going to be Vindictive Wrath, where he basically gets Paladin Wings, and some of his abilities are empowered, like his shield throw hits multiple targets now, and his Burning Light ability has a faster cast time. So yeah, make sure you're still on top of those kicks. All right, in this last room here, before the final boss, you're going to have some new enemies, the Risen Light dudes right here. You got the Risen Footmen, who will just explode with some light damage, AoE damage. You'll have more of the light spawn elementals, so make sure, again, you're not healing the rest of the enemies by staying in their little burst of light ability. And then you got the Risen Mages that are going to be casting Fireball and Fireball Volleys, so make sure you're kicking these as much as you can. And you also have this mini boss guy here who will, again, just, have a light exploding ability, and then you'll have Radiant Flame, which is just going to do damage to the whole group until you kill the guy. And then for the tanks, he has Blazing Strike, which is a heavy hitting holy damage ability that puts a holy dot on you as well. All right, for the final boss, Prioress Murrpray up in here. So she casts Holy Smite, which is kickable. She'll also be casting Holy Flame on top of a player, and that's going to be an AoE circle, so make sure you're not standing in that. If you get hit by that, it does put a dispellable dot on the players who got hit by it. She'll also do Purify, which is going to be a light beam circle that's going to chase one player, so make sure you're kind of this around the arena and not in the middle of your group. When she casts Inner Fire on herself, this will pulse damage periodically around her, just damaging everyone. And then she'll do a Blinding Light, which will blind you. That's dispellable if your healer doesn't get blind as well, but for this, you just want to turn around and not face her when she gets the cast off, otherwise you'll get blinded. And then when you get her 50%, she'll go into her second phase, where she'll go up to the top of the arena, so you want to chase her up there. She'll summon some adds, and she'll be casting Embrace the Light, and this will do pulsing damage and increasing in damage the longer you take to break her shield. Once you break the shield, you can kick the Embrace the Light. The fight will just become rinse and repeat, just in a smaller area up top there. And then it's just gonna be kill her before she kills you at this point. Rinse and repeat on the mechanics.
Epic raids, bosses fall. Dark Age conquers, no mercy at all. Warcraft legends under his control. Gaining worlds, he swallows all. Epic raids, bosses fall. Dark Age conquers, no mercy at all. Streams ignite, battles intense. Warrior spirits, no pretense. Dark Age, feel the rage. Shred the street, break the cage. World of Warcraft on his stage. In his grip, the gaming sage. Dungeons deep, quests unfold. Dark Age leads, warriors bold. Loot and glory in his grasp. Victory.